Good afternoon. So we are ready to continue with our Guild Wars 2 story playthrough. Where we left off, we had just finished the level 10 story, so really just starting to kind of scratch the surface. And honestly, the 10, 20, and 30 level stories are all really just kind of learning what this world that we're in is kind of all about. And that's where we're going to continue right now, right? So we finished level 10. We got to know Logan a little bit better. We got to learn a little bit more about the Shining Blade and Countess Anise. And we've discovered that here in Kryta, which is kind of the human portion of Tyria, that not at all is as it seems in terms of the people in power and what they're all about. Now, where we left off is that we got a letter related to our parents. Our parents have been dead since we were young, and that is one of the choices that you have when you're creating your character. That's the one that I chose because it was going to introduce us to some more things. I felt it was most relevant to the story as we go forward. So we are going to meet some sort of informant or some sort of like anonymous individual who has some information about what may have happened to our parents, and this individual actually provided us with like half of an amulet, presumably which the other half we have been in possession. It was one of the things that was left over from our parents. It was one of the few things that we have from them. Is this broken amulet, and this mysterious informant has provided us with the other half, and that is what they use to validate or kind of provide their bona fides that they know in fact what they're talking about. So we're gonna jump in there. We're gonna see what's going on and learn more about who we are. Apparently, really cool loading screen, by the way. All right, here's our informant meeting us right dead in the middle of Divinity's Reach. By the way, I mean the throne room's right back here, right? Oh, we got Lord Farron here too. So glad that we get to have him in on this as well.
Are you the one who sent me the amulet? What can you tell me about my family? Please, I have to know.
I am and I can, hero of Shaymore. I thought you might be interested. I'm not just here to talk, though. I aim to reunite you with your parents.
Reunite us? Where are they? Why haven't they looked for me sooner?
Oh, don't be like that. I came a long way to find you, you know. And I'm sure they'll explain everything when you meet them. In the mists! Attack!
Oh no! So this was an ambush, and conveniently, you'll note that Lord Farron is nowhere to be found now. He's not obviously relevant to this portion of the story, but we'll get plenty more Lord Farron in the future. In the meantime, we are now subject to this ambush. Why is this happening? Why would there be interest in us? Yes, we are the hero of Shaymore, but why is that of interest? You know, that had to do with centaurs. So why are we of interest to these mysterious assassins? Note that they're not, yes, the uniform, that is their appearance, seems to be the same as bandits, but they're not identified as such. It says assassin, not bandit. Now, are we to take it that these folks are affiliated with the bandits in some way? Like, are they under the pay? You know, do they have the same master? Or is it just really, you know, a case of that was the, you know, for the studio, that was the convenient model to use? Perhaps, you know, we'll learn a little bit more of that in the future. But first, we have to survive. Now, we have some folks who have showed up here and have told us, hey, hang in there. We're here to help you. So we got Exemplar Celia here and an Exemplar Mahid, and they are providing us with this critical assistance. And I suppose if we were at level 20, then that assistance would probably be appreciated because this fight would be a bit you know, more challenging than it is for us right now at level 80. Ah, wasted that skill. All right, so here are the folks who are helping us out. Who are they? What are they all about? Let's find out.
Excellent work handling those foul cultists, citizen. May they know Grenth's justice. I'm Exemplar Salia of the Shining Blade. This is Exemplar Mehid.
A pleasure, I'm sure. You say those were cultists?
White Mantle, to be exact. Ancient enemies of Kryta. They often target defenders of the kingdom and its queen.
I thought the White Mantle were just a children's tale told on Mad King's Day. Why would they have this amulet from my parents, though? Why bother attacking me?
Well, they're quite real, as you've seen. And judging from the symbol on that amulet, I'd say your family has been very loyal to the kingdom.
A mark of the king's favor? That's interesting. Probably from Queen Jenna's father, if I had to guess. We're out to raid a White Mantle hideout we found recently. A hunting lodge near Beetleton. It'll be dangerous, but the cultists there may know more.
I think I know that hunting lodge. I'll meet you there, and I won't take no for an answer. I can help you on your raid, and maybe I can learn what happened to my parents.
All right, so the commander here is really taking some liberties, right? Because essentially, we already talked about the Shining Blade in the level 10 story as not only being protectors of the monarchy, but also being kind of like a clandestine intelligence service or a secret service of sorts. So the commander, by saying, "Hey, I'll meet you there, and I won't take no for an answer," she's injecting herself into business that she may have that she should not in fact be a part of. But just the same, that is what she has decided to do, and apparently Mehid and Salia are going to allow this to happen. Whether or not they in fact have the right to include the commander on this remains to be seen. But that just the same is what's going to happen. Now, what are we involving ourselves, or what is the commander involving herself in this for? To try and find more answers, because apparently the amulet was real and was a valid thing. So how did that come to be, and what does it mean for us? Those are some of the answers we're trying to get, with the ultimate question being what happened to our parents, right? Because apparently we do not know anything about that at all. So the hunting lodge in question is right over here. The hunting lodge was once a very prominent part of the game because years ago now, genuinely like years ago, there were a lot more champion level enemies in the starter maps. And for Queensdale in particular, what this meant was because those champs were on certain respawn timers and were located in certain locations and so forth, it enabled people to kind of circle around in a specific pattern and do them repeatedly over and over again. And that was actually because champions drop chests, that became a semi-lucrative thing to do. Now, it wasn't nearly as lucrative as people made it out to be, all things considered, but it was exceptionally low effort profit, and so the Queensdale champ train was a thing. This was right after they added boxes to champs. So it was an overreaction to a new form of loot, or a new method of loot that had not previously been available in the game. Again, I don't know that the rewards were nearly as significant as people were making it out to be, but there was always the chance you would get something very good. The days of that are long gone, but the hunting lodge, of course, still remains. The boar that stems from an event that starts here in the lodge is now a veteran, and that event ends up down here, giant boar, and you take it down, so on and so forth. For our purposes, however, we are interested in the White Mantle. So now it went from assassins to cultists to White Mantle. We now have identified these folks. Is there, again, coming back to the uniform, is there a relationship between White Mantle and bandits? That's a slow burn. It's going to take us a long time to learn more about that, but that will come later in our playthrough. For right now, they may have some answers that we're looking for. We prepare to root out a White Mantle cell. So Salia, and presumably Mehid as well, exciting fight. Are you ready? They both seem to be fully on board with us taking part in this. All right. Well, let's do it then. Oh no.
Time to do some real damage.
Quickly now. None must escape.
So it looks like pretty much everyone in here is a cultist. So this really, at least in the instance portion here, whereas this is not true in the open world, but in this instance story, this entire lodge is a cover for the activities of the White Mantle. Let's make sure we got them all down this hallway. Appears that way. When we talk about close quarters combat, this is a snug spot to get in a fight. That stairwell.
Time to do some real damage.
Alright, a hostage situation. Oh no, but it's an initiate. White Mantle initiate, so you're presumably not the most dangerous person in the room. But he does have a gun, and the servant here is in very valid danger. Hey, take it easy, buddy. Take it easy. Think about what you're doing. So let's go back, because, so this right here. At launch, they tried to include a system where your character could have one of 3 personalities. And you still make these choices at character creation. It's just no longer a system that's utilized in the game. Where you could be charming, you could be dignified, or you could be like, aggressive. This would be the aggressive choice. So in that system, at launch, choosing this would actually enhance that. There were stats associated with that. Not stats that affected your combat power, but just like your bias towards those 3 things. Kind of like if you remember Knights of the Old Republic once upon a time, where your choices would push you towards the dark side or towards the good side. I'm not a huge Star Wars nerd, but towards more the Jedi or the Sith, like one direction or the other. This system kind of worked the same. So the idea here in the symbol is that by choosing this, I would further enhance my character's drive towards aggressive as a personality trait. We don't need to do that though here. Let the girl go and you're out of here. But better not stop running until... And, this initiate, who's in no position to really fight us, he takes off running. And so does apparently the hostage. So are they leaving together now? Like, I don't know that benefits the hostage. Maybe the hostage should have just stayed with us, but it's okay. Everything's going to be okay, I promise.
There are even more of these roaches than I expected.
Alright, so here's that stairwell again that's so tight. Not where we want to fight. And yet I thought we ended up fighting in here. Maybe those were the folks who ended up at the top of the stairs. Ah, there they are.
Feel the fury.
Keep them away from the basement.
Keep them away from the... So are we not supposed to go in the basement? Apparently, what we're looking for is in the basement because that's not where they want us to be. So this is the genesis of what has become kind of a running joke in the Guild Wars 2 story, and ArenaNet really likes that. They really love their little tongue-in-cheek, game internal jokes like this. It's a little bit of dev self-deprecating humor, I think. So the animation associated, we're going to kick the door hard, and it's actually the same animation that's shared by a warrior skill where you kind of plant a foot in the chest of your enemy. I forget the exact name of the skill. It's one of the utility skills for a warrior. This shares that animation, and we're going to kick the door. And there it goes. So the commander's foot key, kicking doors open, is going to be a thing throughout the story, expansion after expansion, and so forth.
It wasn't me, but I'll make sure they don't live to tell the tale. Attack!
Okay, so we see the informant, the guy who originally, set up the ambush. And then we have Confessor Estelle here. Estelle? I feel like it should be pronounced Estelle, because Estelle makes no sense. So Confessor is actually a specific rank. Not that we get a whole dissertation on it or anything at any point in the game. But we are led to believe that the White Mantle has like a very specific, they have a structure. They are an organization, not just a group of individuals. And so Confessor is one of, and this goes back to, by the way, Guild Wars 1. The Shining Blade and the White Mantle both appear in Guild Wars 1. And players had some investment in those organizations and so forth. So now we see them in Guild Wars 2, the remnants of them, or the mutations of them, 250 years later, and this is what they've become, is the White Mantle, is this cult lurking in the shadows, attempting to make a resurgence, and the Shining Blade has become an important organization to the monarchy of Kryta. Keeping in mind, Guild Wars 1 was all about the human race, so that's why we see it in the human story. This would be completely irrelevant in the Asura story, the Silvara story, or whatever. Handwritten list of names, including ours. Oh, well, let's find out what this is about.
Hey, I found something. A list of names. Captain Thackeray, Countess Anise, a few others. Here's my name, with a description. Hero of Shaymor. Child of the Queen's spies?
Grant's teeth, that's a list of targets. Every name on here is one of the Queen's allies. If they manage to take out all of these people...
We won't let that happen. But first I have to warn Captain Thackeray. I can't let him face this danger alone. He may even be able to help us.
You're right. Anise won't like us sharing information so recklessly. But this is an emergency. We'll meet you at Captain Thackeray's office. Stay safe.
Okay, so again, we have this thing where, like, how much are Mahid and Salia, like, operating within the permissions that they would be given, appropriate to their rank, by including us in this, and now we're going to bring Logan into this. Is this appropriate for the Shining Blade being something of a shadowy organization? This will be addressed here shortly by Countess Anise. She's going to have some thoughts on the matter, as she should. Our OPSEC is very bad at this point. But it does seem, if there's an immediate threat to the Queen, then perhaps the Seraph should be brought on board as well, right? Much the way, if a threat was significant enough, an intelligence organization would bring a military or law enforcement organization into the fold in order to address the threat. And that's essentially what those two Shining Blade agents, if you will, are intent on doing. So we will find out what Countess Anise has to say about it, and what Logan has to say about it. It's also, so when we create this character and we don't know what happened to our parents, by finding out that they were loyal servants to the crown, and that they were in fact, heroes of some sort, or at least that's what's implied right now, then certainly that gives us far more credibility to our character. But that doesn't have to be that way. That was one of three choices that we had. We could have been a noble without our parents being that, or we could have had our parents be that, and we still could have been from the street or a common person. So that just depends on the characters you make at creation. In this case, we are nobility, but now we maybe understand better why we, as an orphan, were...
Bringing a civilian into this matter. Especially this one.
I apologize, Master Exemplar. It was necessary.
Enough. There are more urgent matters at hand. We will discuss this matter later.
Okay, so I wanted to stop so that the dialogue was captured, but just to finish my thought. So because we made the choices, noble, and then, orphans searching for more about their parents, then we kind of construct this story where, since we were orphaned, we were raised within nobility, but now that we've learned who our parents are, it kind of makes sense why someone within one of the more noble families of Kryta and here within Divinity's Reach would take us in and take us under their wing. It's because our parents, in fact, make significant contributions and possibly a significant sacrifice in the name of the crown. So we just heard Countess Anise talking to Salia and Mahid and essentially reprimanding them for including us and now Logan and Lieutenant Groban over here into this. She would have preferred to handle it internally to the Shining Blade or handle it another way. But the cat's out of the bag now, so what are you going to do?
You look grim, my friend. What's wrong?
We've learned that the White Mantle has been trying to eliminate the Queen's allies. My name was on a list of targets we found. So were yours and the Countess's, among others.
The White Mantle? We can't let those roaches continue to spread. I'll mobilize the Seraph and burn this cult to the ground.
Logan, no. You've been fighting centaurs for too long. The White Mantle are cunning, treacherous foes. They will predict your moves, outmaneuver you. The Shining Blade has been fighting them for a long time. We know the best way to deal with the Mantle. Stealth and cunning.
We need to move quickly. They probably know we're coming either way. Our friend has been invaluable so far. Perhaps the hero of Shaymore could offer some insight here.
Agreed. So, my friend, the choice is yours. Stealth or strength?
Okay, so in classic, like, Elder Scrolls fashion, hey, here's a random person that we suddenly have lended credibility to. Let's let them make an important decision that we, experts in our field, are incapable of making ourselves. But, you know, what would a RPG be without those moments, right? So Logan is really behaving here completely within the construct of his character. He is demonstrating the attributes that they really want us to understand about him. This is a guy who is going to charge ahead and smash through all doors, much as the commander does. When you look at the methodologies they attribute to the commander, Logan is much closer to where the commander character itself normally is. And then we have Countess Anise, and everything that they package there in terms of who she is and the way she likes to go about business, and even her talking down to Logan, is very consistent with her character. While she doesn't see a lot of play and a lot of story, she will disappear from our story for an extended period of time. They do, when she does appear, she generally is a very consistent character. We don't get a lot of weird inconsistencies out of her in terms of her character drive or the way she goes about business, right? I do feel like when you look at who our foe is and how they do business, you know, they've been lurking in the shadows for, you know, centuries here, that her course of action does seem to be the right one, and that maybe the Shining Blade is more equipped to deal with this threat than Logan just smashing things, right? Not that he's the smashiest of the smashers. You know, if we were Char, we get to meet Ritlock, and you know, then we'll really meet a smashy type of character. But just the same, let's lure the White Mantle into a trap. Let's go down Anise's path here. All right, so essentially she's assigning Salia Mahid as our liaisons or our contacts within the Shining Blade. Have I not unlocked any of those skins? Huh. That one looks good. All right.
Anything to report?
Ooh, way down there. We're gonna have to go for a little walk. We won't walk, of course. That would be a huge waste of time. Now, for whatever reason, it wants to take us over to, what is that called? Like Claymore or Claypool or something like that? To go through there. I don't think either of those things are right. Claymore is a sword and Claypool is a guitarist. But whatever it is, they want to take us over by that village. But the faster way is actually over here. I'm not sure why the auto-pathing for Guild Wars taking me that direction at this particular point in time. Grab a couple waypoints on our way. So now with the connections we made, when we see this giant bandit camp here, this could, you know, be a reasonable place for, you know, investigating more about this, because we're starting to kind of get the feeling that maybe, you know, bandits and White Mantle, you know, not synonymous, but, you know, definitely feel like maybe there's a relationship there, right? People saluting and bowing and waving, all kinds of stuff. What fun to be greeted that way.
Get into position, everyone. I'll approach. When they make their move, you all rush in and spring the trap.
You, Captain. No offense, but the Shining Blade and the White Mantle have a long history. Don't you think I would make a more tempting lure?
No doubt. Wouldn't that seem a little suspicious? You, out walking alone, the Queen nowhere in sight? At least I move about on my own regularly.
That's a good point. Where do you want us then, Captain? Anywhere is fine, so long as we're close to the action.
The ruins at the top of this hill would make for good cover. They're well elevated. We'd be able to see and hear everything.
Sounds perfect. Just be ready to move quickly when things turn ugly.
Yeah, we don't want to leave Logan hanging, right? That wouldn't be a very nice thing to do.
Logan playing the part of the helpless victim. This
We can actually see, so there's some of the extra Seraph. They're headed over in another direction. Should we kneel along with everyone else? There's Logan, hanging out. Oh, you know what? We're not quite where we need to be. There we go. Better kneel again.
Shh. Here they come.
Well, Captain Thackeray, a long way from home, aren't we? I thought we'd have saved you for last, but since you're here...
Oh dear, oh mercy, the White Mantle is upon me. Whoa, lamentation. Is this the end for poor Logan?
Are you mocking me? I don't think you understand how this works. White Mantle, give the captain a demonstration.
No thanks. I think I already have a pretty good idea. Now!
Alright, so Logan's not very good at this. Logan clearly missed the whole, like, ambush lane in Ranger School, but that's okay. We have the White Mantle down here now. We're in a position to engage.
Feel the fury.
And we saw another rank, by the way. Right, so earlier was Confessor Estel. And now we got an Inquisitor Morella, right? Both these are ranks within the White Mantle rank structure, both of which go back to Guild Wars 1. And so here's the Inquisitor again.
Time to fight.
We'll save her for last. And even in her appearance, right? Even in her, outfit here and so forth, you see quite a bit of difference between her and the common bandit.
Well, I'm glad that's over with.
I think we were too easy on them personally. After multiple attempted murders and abusing the memory of your parents, they got off light.
Will you be all right?
I think so. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Speaking of your parents, with this phase of the operation complete, I can tell you that Celia and I think we've located your parents' last known residence.
That's fantastic. I want to check it out. If Anise can spare you two for one more mission, I mean.
By all means. The Shining Blade is in your debt. It's the least we can do.
The house is south of the Delanian foothills. We'll meet you there. And if there's anything worth finding, we'll find it.
Reassuring. Alright, so let's go check it out. Let's see if we can kind of close the loop a little bit, or close the book on our history and some of the mysteries surrounding who we are. Who are we? We're like Derek Zoolander over here trying to figure it out.
You could let me go.
Alright. So will we learn anything about our past in our parents' old home?
Is this the place? I'm eager to get started.
It is. Watch your step, though. When we scouted around earlier, it looked like someone or something may have moved in.
Countess Anise asked us not to say more than necessary, as this is technically a royal matter. But I think you deserve what truth we can give you. Your parents were spies for the last king of Kryta, Jenna's father. They helped track and destroy White Mantle's cells, saving many lives in the process.
And this was their house.
Yes. The last message on file from your parents states that they feared White Mantle cultists had discovered their secret. They were planning to flee.
The Shining Blade lost contact with them after that. Either they fled to safety or...
Either way, I have to know. Let's go inside. If there are clues to be found, we'll find them here.
Alright. Let's find it out.
Stay alert.
So there are some, like, questions here that will go unanswered. So were our parents, like, where were we then when our parents were living here?
Do some real damage.
Or were we living here with them? Like that's kind of ambiguous. Now, in fairness to, to the folks telling this story, you can't anticipate every little detail. You can't include every little detail. Thus, the reason that this is where our parents lived and not, Mahid and Alia saying, hey, this is your childhood home or something like that, right? Because sometimes you do run into a problem where the more you try to explain a story, the more story you try to create, and this is especially true of things like science fiction or fantasy, right? The more you try to explain things, the more difficult it becomes to explain things. I think science fiction is absolutely the worst. And definitely, there are some folks, like Michael Crichton's kind of notorious for, doing research to the point where, where things scientifically make sense. Here's how we could actually clone dinosaurs. Hey, that's great, dude. But sometimes it makes a little more sense to allow the reader or the viewer or the player to fill in the gaps themselves. instead of creating a canon so in-depth that there are no questions left to ask, maybe, the player's headcanon instead is simply a more efficient way to go, and ultimately more satisfying to the player. And that's a big thing, right? Sometimes I feel like ArenaNet falls on the wrong side of that, where they just don't answer enough questions, but this isn't one of those cases. Like, we don't need every detail about our life, because this is really just kind of, misuse that. This is just to establish a little background on the character. And after all, we chose this, right? We had several choices. We could have chosen the Find My Sister thing or Join the Circus thing. Instead, we chose the Find Our Parents thing. So this is the story we get. Alright, so here, perhaps, lies the answer to the question of what actually happened to the parents, right? So, cherished wife, devoted mother, and apparently my mom. So again, we have the option here of, like, enhancing that aggressive personality trait, which is not a thing that, exists any longer. If it was, that would still be, actually wouldn't even be there. I believe it used to appear like right here. This all was, the UI was different then too. Or, say a prayer. Let's just say a prayer. I don't feel obligated to, like, be a huge jerk about it. So here's Dad, right? His wife, his country, and his child. Those were the things that he valued. Well, I can relate to that. I got 2 of those things and I value them, so I understand.
It seems the White Mantle found your parents after all. I'm so sorry.
I'd always hoped my parents were still out there, waiting to find me. That's, a hard dream to give up. But at least now I know.
They gave their lives to defend Kryta against one of its oldest, greatest enemies. I'm sure they'd be proud of you.
These gravestones, though, who placed them?
Friends, perhaps? Fellow agents? We may never know. It was likely the same people who rescued you and took you to safety in Divinity's Reach.
I want to thank you both for finding this place, and for telling me as much as you could. All my life I've wondered, and now I finally have peace.
My friend, this was never just another mission. Helping you with this has been our pleasure, believe me.
We'll meet again. I'm sure of it. Until then, stay safe.
Okay, so turns out we do actually hear a little bit about how it is, where we were and how it is we ended up in Divinity's Reach. I had actually forgotten about that little bit of dialogue there. So we were here, possibly, when our parents were killed, and it is suggested, at least, by Mahid and Celia, that the same person who then took us to Divinity's Reach from this location also took the time to bury our parents, and apparently later have these rather large tombstones made as well, and brought them out here and installed them. Very nice. That's a lot of sacrifice for somebody who may or may not have even known us, and maybe they did. All right. Maybe in that world, that shadowy world of the Shining Blade and the White Mantle, even very, very close people, it is best if they kind of, just disappear into the shadows when the right time comes. And maybe the death of our parents, and then our being adopted by a new family, was the right time for this person who, initially found us here to disappear into the shadows. And maybe we'll never know who that was. All right. So this is the end of the level 20 story. And so for video purposes, this is where we will wrap it up. And then next time, we'll pick it up with the level 30 story.